Hello, my name is Brian York. This is a project for William Woods University EDU 528, and this is my athletic department fiscal plan. I have found it extremely difficult to pin myself down to a single budget model, as each has its own strengths and weaknesses. Depending on the size of the schools or school district surrounding, the financial stability, the situation in the community, and how the district and state disseminate funding are all factors in the decision-making process for what budget to use. In schools, districts, or communities where finances are tight and every expenditure must be analyzed and accounted for, a zero-based budget might be the best option. This is also true in smaller districts where there is usually only a single high school. The zero-based budget becomes a very difficult model to use when the school or school district is large, and the time it takes to implement and have all those meetings and decide exactly how every dollar is going to be spent. At some point, the cost and the salaries in the professionals creating the budget model each year must be taken into account as part of that cost. I believe that the best model for most districts is either the zero base for small, or for larger districts using the external model or the combination model. I have chosen that model because, again, most districts don't have a lot of extra money for athletics. Therefore, their financing focus should be on academics, and then as long as they support the basics for the program, it's up to the participants and the supporters to get the extras. From my experiences, again, the external model is one that would be used in a lot of larger districts that have a hard time fully funding all of their academic and extracurricular programs, while the combination model would be the primary choice for most who can. The combination model covers more expenses of the program than from just the external model, but it still relies on the participants and supporters to fulfill their own budgetary needs. In a perfect world, the school will be able to fund all their academic and all their extracurricular needs and be able to purchase all the extras that every coach wants. But in reality, that's just not how it is. Activities in athletics must be co-curricular. The academic curriculum must come first. And because of that, they get their financial resources first. Interscholastic athletics are a supplement to academic education. The purpose of athletics is to enhance the academic education, not to provide a career path to the pros or a path to a Division I scholarship in hopes to getting to the pros. Hence, it should be treated as such. The school and the school district supplies what it can, then it's up to the community and the programs themselves to support themselves. Again, donations are a tricky topic. It depends on the community. There needs to be a balance between supporting a specific program that the donors want to support and supporting all of the programs as a whole. This is especially important when making sure that donations and other financial support monies follow the requirements of Title IX. In other words, if football is getting all the money and all the money and all the money donated, we're not following Title IX because you're not giving the same opportunities to all your sports. This is also true when there are multiple high schools in a district, when those high schools have very different financial backgrounds of their families that attend those schools. The way Columbia Public Schools deals with this disparity is by requiring all sponsorships to be district-wide for middle and high school sports, and then the district distributes the funds to each school. Each program can accept donations individually, but again, Title IX must be followed. If someone donates money to get an expensive piece of equipment, like a windscreen for the baseball team, there does need to be matching funds for the softball team to get a windscreen for their outfield fence as well. Cost control is another interesting topic. It's either really easy because there's not much money, or it's a tough issue with the combination or external budget model. Unfortunately, the primary method of oversight is by the athletic director and their coaches, and by either the district athletic director over school athletic directors, or possibly the school board over the district athletic director. Assuming that the athletic director has a good sense of cost control themselves, this can either strengthen or strain the relationship between the athletic director and the program's head coach. When a program does not have a great deal of funds available, the lack of funds does tend to control the spending. But when the money is coming from outside sources like donations or booster clubs, the school doesn't have much of a say in how the funds are spent. The best way to control spending is to make sure you have a coach, donor, booster club treasurer that will all make the correct, tough financial decision for the short and long term. Because if you don't have strong personalities with their financial decisions in the right place, it can run a booster club aground very quickly and can run team funds out very quickly. As booster clubs and extracurricular accounts do run out of money, there is a need to seek outside funding. There must be some form of organization for a school and or district as it seeks outside funding. Again, the school and community around the school will dictate the situation. If I were in a small community with a single high school, there would be a different philosophy than a large district with multiple schools, varying financial diversity within the schools, and again, depending on the metropolitan area that the schools are in. Specifically in Columbia, each high school has an athletic booster club that has one big fundraiser each year. Each takes a similar format where members seek donations to either become part of a raffle basket or maybe a single larger item to be sold as a silent auction in some type of social situation, usually at a local brewery or some other big open space. And then there's a master ceremonies, lots of pomp and circumstance. And then again in Columbia, Rockbridge High School has always raised the most amount of money for its programs each year in their sales. Hickman High School with last QP standing does reasonably well, and unfortunately, Battle High School does not typically do as well as those other two. And because of that, our athletic director typically doesn't help the booster clubs procure the items on their own, but especially post-COVID, he really has felt the need to help get out and get support for Battle's fundraising efforts to help them get their booster club back up and running well. As we look to expand our programs, there are a couple different ways. Again, local school and community specifics determine the best ways to move forward, but if there are multiple untapped resources in the community, the best way to expand might be to ask for more and explore more sponsorship and financial support. If that's not an option, the schools could decide to raise entrance fees to various events. From my experience again in Columbia Public Schools, the gate fees for middle school sporting events haven't changed in over 20 years. The high schools did recently raise their gate fees, and I've been pushing for the middle schools to do the same. By simply raising the student fee from $2 to $3 entrance and the adult fee from $3 to $5 entrance, we would raise our gate income by more than 50%. And honestly, it's needed with the cost of things going up in the last year or so. Unless you're in a pay-to-play situation, I feel like every program should have participant fundraising as a way to help own the program. Therefore, each program within that athletic department should be able and willing to fundraise for itself. Some programs do that within the guidance of a booster club, some without. Some programs could do something as simple as asking for donations from their athletes. Like, hey, instead of doing fundraising, just write us a check for $50. Kind of like a pay-to-play situation. Some need a little more money, so they ask their athletes to send letters to family and friends and local businesses through a letter campaign and ask for donations. Other programs will do various food-based fundraisers like Krispy Kreme donut sales or restaurant-based fundraisers. None of these are fundraisers that bring in great amounts of money, but it is money, and when spread across 30, 40, 60 kids, it ends up being a decent total. The biggest issue that I see with programs fundraising for themselves, again, is the possibility of a Title IX and how they spend their money. Because if a boys soccer team, baseball team, basketball team, for whatever reason the girls can't get that same equivalent piece of equipment, it becomes an issue. Or on the other side, if we're all selling Krispy Kreme donuts every other week, you kind of lose your base and lose some of the effectiveness of the fundraising. Thank you for your time.